a coach? Are you interested because you would like to get coached? Is it because you may be responsible for bringing coaching into the workplace? Or you are a manager and you would like to know how to use coaching in yet more effective way? I love hearing from you, and thank you to Bella and Simran. Lovely. Angela, yeah. Very nice. So I see that there are actually quite a few coaches among us. And so for that's a good news, because I'm sure that we will be able to help each other to develop and use some of the techniques. So right now, let's actually start with a train of open-ended questions about coaching. And I'll ask you to raise up hand. Everybody, just use this reaction. Yeah, reaction and raise hand, like I have done. And there should be the numbers. Do you see that? Could you raise hands? Yes. And now we are reordering. And in this order, we will actually go into the train of open-ended questions. And we need to keep speed. The train is really fast. And I will now ask my first question to Daisy. Daisy, what do you love about coaching? And Daisy will briefly, very briefly answer. And then she will ask her questions to Angela.
Okay, what do I love about coaching? That allows you to give accountability to people to make their own decisions. So that's what I love.
Thank you. And what's your question to Angela?
To Angela, what is what you, I don't know, like right now I don't have any question and I'm a coach. Like what is the most challenging situation, really brief, that you have had in coaching?
In coaching others, you mean?
Yes.
You choose.
Yes. Okay. I would say a common one is when people have not ever reflected before in their lives. So it's actually the first time that they understand what reflection is. So because it takes a little bit longer to get there, to bring them there. So very short. That's
Yes.
That's I think one common one. Yeah.
Angela, what's your question to Maya?
Maya, what is your favorite coaching question?
I think I'm the only Maya here, so I'm going to go answer this. My favorite coaching question is starting with just imagine. And then you add whatever you want to add.
Oh, so nice. Thank you.
Okay, so who do I have to ask?
Novella.
Okay. What, oh my God, you actually, I wanted to ask this question. What is your favorite coaching question? Now I have to ask. Oh, what is your favorite innovative practice in coaching that you tried?
Oh my God, this is difficult. Another one? I don't know. I don't know what it's innovative, for you, for me. I don't know, like maybe using metaphors. It's not so new, but it's something that not every coach is doing. So using the power of metaphors. And my question to Bella is, what do you think is the most difficult thing for coaches?
Novella, I think the most difficult thing for coaching is when the client is not as motivated or is a bit lost, and you need to, well, it's hard to make intrinsic motivation grow, right? So I think that's the most challenging I found in my practice so far. And I think, do I ask
Joanna?
Oh, it's because all of the hands are
Oh, I'm sorry. Now, also, sorry, it wasn't, I meant, okay, I have asked Valeria to lower them. I meant only those who have already spoken, but I think after you was Joanna.
Joanna. So Joanna, what coaching framework do you usually like to follow in your coaching practices?
Actually, that question is maybe not very applicable to me. I'm not very experienced with coaching. I have been investigating about powerful questions, and I also like to use the GROW model on some exercises that I do with people. So maybe that would be my best answer to that.
And your question to Simran.
By the end of this session that we are all in, what do you expect to have achieved?
Apologies, I've got my camera off because the room behind me is full of stuff. But what I want to achieve is basically understanding a little bit more about group coaching and understanding a bit more about what other people do so I can bring, my practice to there. So yeah, very excited to be here. Who am I asking?
You are asking Inchi.
Oh, hi, Inji. I guess my question would be, what do you love most about coaching?
I love being able to provide a space for people to think, which I don't know if I had myself as a leader. And who am I asking? Is it Blanca?
Actually, you could ask me. Yes.
Oh, that's you.
It's me, and it's okay.
So Carrie, how do you care for yourself as a coach?
I have my daily practices that usually consist of yoga or also going for jogging. But perhaps most importantly, I have learned techniques not to get into dramas, and I am able to take care of most of the things. Sort of, it's already well integrated into my day. But I, for example, don't drink alcohol because I know that would really influence my recovery. And I also try to keep in touch with good people from whom I can learn and with whom I can every now and then get their support if I'm stuck. So, yeah. Thank you very much. This was the very first practice, actually, of the most foundational practice in coaching, and that is the ability to ask open-ended exploratory questions. And you may be surprised whenever I do this with the group in the executive world or like corporate world. It's so difficult for them. We have a tendency to ask closed questions. We have a tendency to pack a lot of assumptions into our questions. And it was beautiful now to see how you actually haven't done any of that. All the questions were really open, exploring. And that's really one of the characteristics of the powerful coaching questions, that we are enabling people to explore more, to get a different perspective from their own, or maybe to move into the shoes of, to imagine that they are in the shoes of somebody else and benefit from that. But now, what is actually at all the difference between coaching and other things, and why questions are so important? Well, they are so important because they enable us indeed the self-reflection and reflection, and therefore they are opening our horizons. And there are questions that are more powerful than others. And one of the recommendations that I would give to everybody who is using questions is to find ways to avoid a why question. It's very subtle, but very often when we ask the why question, people feel questioned. they feel that they have to explain themselves, and so they close more. But if I already ask something like, so what did you think about that? Or how the situation appeared to you back then, it's a completely different question, and it really encourages people again to explore. Okay, now what is really coaching? So what's the difference of coaching and, let's say, mentoring, consultation, or therapy? I think it is important that we focus briefly on that, because very often the boundaries aren't so very much clear. And I am actually working with a definition of coaching that was put forward by International Coaching Federation. And it's not the only definition out there, right? So usually it is being said that coaching is forward-looking. I love that very much. That's true. But often you cannot look forward unless you have taken care of the mess that you have actually made for yourself in the past. So how do you draw the line between therapy and coaching? Any ideas? Where do you draw the line between therapy and coaching?
Therapy? Sorry, go ahead.
Definitely, one of the things is like when the person is going back to the past, like just referring to the past circumstances that they face. Like that's when I just said like, okay, better just to go with a psychologist and stuff like that.
Okay, let's hear from Simran and Fatima.
I would agree with that in terms of the way that I was the way that we kind of discussed it when I was doing my qualification was around therapy. Therapy is more about kind of exploring patterns in the past, emotions in the past, and coaching is more future oriented. So very, very similar in terms of that. So it's all about kind of looking forward. What are the underlying values or emotions or thoughts that someone might have that's stopping you from getting you to the kind of the goal at hand, almost, that you're discussing in the sessions. That's my definition, but I don't know if it's right.
Okay, let's hear also from Fatima, and then
yes. Hi everyone, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. For me, there is the notion of time, but also who is leading the conversation, either the therapist or the client.
Yeah. Well, but how do you decide that, if I may?
Because normally the coaching is focused on the client, and he is or she is the one answering and finding the solutions for themselves, while in the therapy is the opposite.
Yes, that's definitely one of the key elements of coaching. It's an eye-to-eye relationship. I am actually not ever using the word patient or so, because I'm on par with the other person. But now, as to the how, whether we are looking to the past or not, I actually feel that we absolutely, as coaches, have to also look into the past. It's only that we are using the past, and Maya wrote it very beautifully into the chat, as a resource of knowledge and awareness about possible patterns that are holding us back, but also resource possibly about our strength. So I would say that what is really important when you are making the distinction between what is therapy and what is coaching is that the client is able to connect with you, and the client is able to, so it means that the client is actually, there is a degree of connectivity. He or she can respond to you, and they seem to be interested in connecting with you and capable of that. And also they are actually more or less functioning in the day-to-day life. So that doesn't mean that they may not be right now, even facing a very difficult situation, but they are still not really clinically seriously depressed. They are able to groom themselves and so on. And the International Coaching Federation has a beautiful white paper, very well written, that is very helpful in distinguishing between therapy and when to actually when we as coaches should actually refer somebody to therapy, and when actually this is coaching. And I find it's important that we do acknowledge that we need to, at times, look into the past, because this is where the roots of the current situation are. We need to acknowledge them, and then we can really move with the coachee to the future. And I know that this is not always the mainstream view, so that's why I'm mentioning it here. But now, so what is now something else that is so important for you as coach, or for us and for coaching? What do we have to really do super well? Yeah, thank you, Juliet. I found already the resource. Daisy, what would you think is very foundational for you as coach, or in coaching?
Listening skill.
Listening as a skill, absolutely. And we will not actually now specifically practice listening here in this very moment. But what we will do is we will actually practice this skill, hopefully a bit down the road, when I hope that some of you will benefit from coaching with a particular sort of a special method. So when we listen, the most important actually is that we listen first, right? So how do you do that? What are some of your techniques for being able to listen? Yeah, listening without getting into the fixing mode, right? I did not finish, actually. I only spoke about coaching as opposed to therapy, right? But there is also the coaching and consulting. So consultants would advise. As coach, I don't. Valeria, I saw your hand up. Would you like to contribute?
Yeah, we have some comments in the chat of people sharing how they listen. So mindful listening was from my side. So when you don't just listen of what has been said, but also look at the body language. Then we have a comment from Angela, listening without getting into fixing mode. Lazy coach technique. Then from Tiana, clearing my head of assumption. Then from Shankar, putting down yourself. And then from Sergey, being focused towards and body.
Yeah.
Anna, leave room for silence.
Yeah.
And Joanna, acknowledge feelings.
All of this are really amazing characteristics of good listening in coaching. And what I really love particularly much is this leave room for silence. And it's very interesting, because that sometimes then leads the coaches to come up as well with things which are habitual, like in the way that they feel that they need to fill in the room, and they are like trying to give you the right answer. And it's very nice when we as coaches eventually can listen into it. But now this seems to be almost really like the more advanced way of coaching. And I know many of you are coaches, but some of you aren't here. So I would say that for most of us, I would be so happy if we just were there to listen for the words, and also a bit for what actually was not said. And you brought it in by the body, listening for the changes, noticing the changes in the mood, in the energy, also maybe sometimes different words, tone of voice. There is much more. Okay, so let's move now to the heart of today, short session on coaching, and that is feed forward technique. And why feed forward, and how can you actually use feed forward in coaching? Feed forward is very powerful as a technique that enables the other one to stay focused on themselves, and in a way that enables them to explore and to reflect. Yeah. And so before we go there, I would like to ask, does any of you have a challenge that you would like to actually now eventually get a micro coached on? And before you share your challenge, I would like to mention that everything that will be said here will stay here. We need to keep everything confidential. This is also one of the key elements of coaching. keeping confidentiality. And if any of you would like to share a challenge, please come forward. And it can be anything smaller, bigger, and we will then see how we can use a particular coaching technique and apply it on that.
I can bring a challenge, maybe a quite simple one to describe.
Thank you. Hold for a moment. Let's see whether somebody else would like to do also. Sarah, you too?
Unfortunately, I'm not sure what happened to my camera. It doesn't work. Is it still possible to
bring a challenge? Yes, it is. And we would actually love to have more challenges so we can work in more groups. So whenever you have a challenge, and Shankar, would you like to share too?
Yes, please.
Great. So we have currently 3 challenges. So please, if there is, we could have one more, but if there are 3, then we will actually with 3 challenges. And I'll ask you, Joanna, and now, I'm sorry, who was the second one? Shankar, I see, and
Sarah?
Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. Joanna and Shankara, would you be so kind to briefly introduce your challenge to us? Take like 2 minutes. Joanna, would you be so kind?
There you go first.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can start. Mine is very simple. I have a training session that I will facilitate this Friday. I will try a lot of new exercises. It's a new group of people that I don't know, and I'm very nervous about the session. So this is my challenge.
Great challenge. Thank you. Sarah.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Oh, Sarah, if I may. And then you, Shankar.
Thank you, Shankar. Thank you, Becca. Am I allowed to use a metaphor if I may? Yeah, okay. I will say that currently I am sitting in this box that is full of water that is above my eyebrow that I couldn't really swim or get out, but I still can breathe. That's the funny thing. So, but it's if you may, I think it's actually career related. So yeah. So, but I just use a metaphor. Hopefully, that it will helps to see the things differently.
Thank you. And Shankar, what about your challenge?
So I'm in the middle of an inclusivity issue, and I am trying to balance or decide between, it's been going on for some time, and I'm trying to balance or decide between speaking truth to power, or standing up for myself and putting it down and moving on with my life.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So what I'd like now to invite all of us is we will go into 3 groups. I'll kindly ask that I am, if possible, Victoria, that I'm in the group with Sarah. And basically, what we are to do is to really look into how we can use feed-forward questions to coach somebody who is facing an issue, a dilemma or so. And Valeria has kindly pasted some of the questions that are there that might be possible in the chat, and you can use them for an inspiration. What is important is that when you are in the rooms, please, each and every of you will have the possibility to ask a question we will have only about 15 minutes for this. Valeria, can you please still update the time? I think we can take a bit more time, and we will do 3 groups. So maybe not each and every of you will have to ask a question. You can as well pass, but if possible, allow everybody to speak. The case givers, that is Shankar, Joanna, and Sarah, share as much detail as you feel comfortable with. Don't share too much. And please keep your answers now relatively short so that you can benefit from the questions. And we will meet back here in about 15 minutes. I'll be with one group, Valeria will be with another one, and one group will be on your own. So you please choose a facilitator, team keeper, and somebody who will help you to make sure that everybody had a chance to experience also how it is to ask some powerful questions.
Just the operational question. I will let participants choose the room. So we will have 3 rooms.
Okay, it's okay. Then
so
please,
Shankar can join room 1, Sarah can join room number 2, and we had a third person joining room number 3.
And please, if you see that in one room there are already many people, be so kind to distribute yourself evenly to the rooms. Thank you.
Enjoy.
See you briefly. See you shortly.
All the rooms are open now, and you can choose which one to join.
I'm sorry, Verelia. You were saying that I can join room 2.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back, everybody. Lovely, lovely. I obviously know how it went in my group, but I'm curious to hear a bit from the other groups. What about the group that was with the group that we do not know, the one without Valeria and without Blanca? So how did you do?
I think that was my group.
So Joanna, let's start with you. How was it for you?
It's challenging being on the spotlight and being answering all of those questions for that period of time. It was insightful, and I feel like a lot of people ask good questions. I was missing the safe space for reflecting a bit more deeper because I don't know everyone in here, and also we don't want to overshare, but it definitely prompted me to do some reflections, what is really hindering my best performance or overcoming my challenge. So yeah, I think it was very useful. So thank you to all the participants in my room for the questions they did.
Thank you for sharing. Is there anything else that any of you would like to share about your experience with Joanna in Joanna's room? If not, let's move maybe to Victoria's.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that it was hard to apply the questions that were in the chat because the questions were like kind of about some kind of past experience and like how that reflects, but this was about a future experience, like the request. So it was a bit hard to apply those questions. And yeah, but like I think people came up with really good questions that were applicable to the situation. And yeah, there was just too little time, I think, to delve deeper into the topic.
And I absolutely want to acknowledge both, right? Coaching is not about having a set of questions that you ask. And every time when we are expanding our community of coaches for NQ5 coach company, actually, if people just go by the book, they will lose me and they will in the end not be selected to join us, because we want everybody to be able to really work with the client on where the client is. For this purpose, I in a way had to try to balance both, give you something that is useful, mainly for the workplace, mainly instead of feedback. And I will share all of this in a document with you so that you can really use it as a resource. But I acknowledge that challenge. And also I absolutely acknowledge the very tight time. And still there is one wisdom in this. Sometimes even very, very short time, like 10 minutes, may be enough for a coaching-like conversation and some insights and self-awareness and awareness and new perspectives can emerge from this. And I think this is an amazing news for everybody who is in the workplace and works with managers and would like to bring more coaching and the ability to empower people and develop people with coaching-like style of management and supervision into the workplace. You do not need 1 hour for coaching. You need sometimes little time, and sometimes even 1 hour will not be enough if you really touch some of the deep issues. And possibly Joanna has both some of the superficial elements and some of the really deep ones. Thank you. What about the third group? I will briefly actually ask you, Sarah, if you would share how was it for you?
Yeah, I'm so sorry again. My camera not working, but I definitely had a very good sessions. They all asked an extremely powerful questions that help me to reflect and help me to get out of the situations, and most importantly, from the box in the water in the box, I end up at the beach under the sun. And that's how they actually bring me out there through the questions that they're asking. Particularly, I think Fatima asked me about, like, if now is September, and what am I willing to sacrifice to be there? I love that questions because she challenged me to go forward, which is like naturally when we are doing reflection, we will probably never think about it. I love that, and then after that, there's a lot of questions, but I think the whole sessions was so good. And one thing I learned about the whole sessions is that you listen and then you come up with the closest questions that help the persons to get out. In fact, also throw in a challenging questions to help them so that they manual through the feeling, the reflection, and then the challenge. Lastly, set the actions, which is how success look like. I actually roughly can see these 4 phases during my sessions. Thank you.
Lovely. And so what I'd like to do right now is just to wrap up a bit about where we are and look into what we have covered today, and also still enable some Q&A. Maybe I start with a very short self-reflection. If I make it personal, Fatima.
Blanca, sorry for interrupting. Maybe just a quick one. There was a question from Tayana asking, can you share what Feed Forward as a methodology stands for? Since she can see the clear example of the questions, but not the higher level principle behind it.
I'm doing it right now. Yeah. And I will share more. We will share more after this session in a document. A very quick reflection from my side. So Fatima, when you ask your questions about what sacrifices Sarah would be ready to do, I have to say that my critique person, my judge person, came there and was like, oh, this is not a good question because this is now driving the energy down. And I want to acknowledge that because I was so amazed. And when Sarah said, and I was surprised, Sarah said, it was a great question. And this is what I just want to say, that, like, we all are there, and sometimes just we are judging and we don't know, and it's so beautiful to see when we can learn from each other. And this is also the power of group coaching that I love because it's very efficient. Also, the participants are learning from the cases of somebody else. You learn how to ask open-ended questions, and you can actually again be confronted with different perspectives. And I found that this is the biggest thing about coaching and about being together in dialogue with others. And okay, Shankar, you would like to say something.
Thank you. Because I didn't get to debrief, but it's really important to me that I say to my group that I really want to thank them for showing up for it, and I appreciate their support and their inquiries. And for those people that didn't get to speak, I'm sorry that you didn't, and I appreciate you being there. Sorry for interrupting your flow.
Thank you for sharing that. I would like to end with 3 things. So there are many more coaching techniques that are useful. There are many more practices and many more tools, yeah. But what is really the most important is our presence, to be in that meeting and to be able to listen and to be able to ask questions, to go there to the other person that we are coaching. And of course, some techniques then are better than others. Another really important one would be so-called contracting. And this is a very special coaching techniques in a way, but you always should do it whenever you are coaching, because you would like to know that there is an agreement with the other, what the coachee will be leaving with. And how will you measure and know that actually things have worked? But right now, I will not go there anymore. I know that, Valeria, you have a few important announcements too, because L&D Shakers actually, and now it goes to you.
Thanks, Blanca. Indeed, the cherry on this beautiful cake would be that the L&D Shakers offer free coaching for L&D professionals. I also shared the link in the chat, so feel free to explore, and maybe if you need more support, go and dive deeper and pick your coach and reflect individually.
And if you would like to also learn more about some of the techniques, please shout out, let me know. I'll be happy to share more. We are also planning some coaching education that is ICF accredited, and therefore you can use it towards your accreditation as a coach if you choose so. But also we are having courses for companies who would like to bring more of coaching like style for their managers. So not everybody wants to be a certified coach, but I feel everybody should know a bit about how to ask questions, how to listen, and how to get less judgmental. And indeed, it's a lifelong learning. As I told you, I was judgmental right here. Thank you, Fatima. Anything else that you would like to share before we really go? I'm mindful of time, but I also wanted to give space for questions. If there is nothing, then I would just love to invite you to write into the chat the energy, the emotion that you are now leaving this session with. I love this. Inspired and curious. And content to be in the coaching world, refreshed. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for being part of this community, and thank you for your active participation today. And particular thank to Sarah, Joanna, and Shankar, who have had the courage to share more, and to everybody who tried to ask questions, maybe for not the first time, but almost the first time. Thank you, Valeria, for hosting.
Blanca, on behalf of ThoughtLab, L&D Shakers community, I want to also thank you for having us today and for sharing your amazing and very simple tool for the coach. And it was a pleasure to have this session with you.
My
pleasure. A nice rest of the day, everyone.
Around. Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.